Hello everyone, welcome to economics classes. In our previous class, we have learned about what is economics, activities like production, consumption and distribution, and what are the factors of production, and what is statistics, and what we will learn in statistics, and how statistics and economics are interlinked. All these things we learned in the first chapter of Statistics for Economics, Introduction chapter. Now we are going to the second chapter, Collection of Data. Collection of Data. In this chapter, we are going to learn about economic data, how they are collected, what are the sources of data, and about the ways of collecting data, sampling, preparation of instruments for collecting data, and census and sample surveys. All these concepts we are going to learn in collection of data. Already you might have heard about the production of food grains in 1978. It is about 108 million tons, and in 2016 it is about 252 million tons. This type of economic data are available. In this statement, you can observe food grain production in India in different years. And also you can observe that production of food grains vary from one year to another year. See here, in this table, we can observe that in 1970-71, production of food grain is 108 million tons, and in 1990 and 1991 it is about 176 million tons, and in 2001 and 2002 it is about 212 million tons. 2016 and 17 it is about 272 million tons. By seeing this table, we can observe two variables here. Years also variable, and here production of food grain is variable from one year to another year. Here 108, 176, 212 and 272, like this. The production of food grain vary from one year to another year, so that these are called as variables. What are variables? The thing which is vary or value of which is varying are called as variables. The values which are changing are called as variables. The values which are changing are called as variables. And also this variable can be denoted as X and Y. These years are considered as X, and production is considered as Y. Normally, while denoting these variables, we use letters like X, Y and Z. Here we are considering year as X variable and production as Y variable. Here X and Y are two variables, values of which production and both the year are changing, so that they are variables. One of the very important thing you need to understand, how this data came, from where we have collected. Statistical data are collected from two different sources. One is primary data. In primary data, a researcher is collecting data from the survey or research, or he may conduct an inquiry, and after that he can process this data. Such data are called as primary data. For example, if you want to know about the popularity of a cricketer or film star, we can ask all the students of the college. Then we can come to the conclusion who is the most popular cricketer or who is the most popular film star. We can get the opinion from all the students. Then on the basis of that opinion, we can come to the conclusion that this film star is more popular and this cricketer is more popular. This type of data are called as primary data. And second one is secondary data. This is the other main source of data, secondary data. The data which is already collected by or processed by some other agency are called as secondary data. The data which is already processed or conducted survey by some other agencies. If we are collecting data from published sources like a newspaper, books written by some authors or any magazines or from internet, that type of data are called as secondary data. For example, we have already discussed about the popularity of film stars. If it is already collected data about the popularity of the film star or a cricketer in any newspaper or in any magazines, if it is already published, then we are collecting data from that sources. They are called as secondary data. How do we collect this data, statistical data? If a producer wants to produce certain goods or a product, then he will go for survey. Regarding what? Regarding the usability or regarding the value of that product or regarding the price of that product, regarding the demand of that product and how many users are there. All these things were collected by the producer before producing certain goods. If a producer wants to produce soap, to whom he is producing and what type of soap he is producing and what will be the price of that soap and how many people may demand for that product. All these things will be surveyed. All the data will be collected by the producer. How to collect this data? To collect this data, he has to ask certain questions. He has to prepare some set of questions to ask the people or to ask the consumers. After collecting this data, he will start his production activities. Then what is questionnaire? Questionnaire is one of the important instruments of collecting primary data. As we discussed earlier, while collecting data, there should be certain instruments. How to prepare that instruments? What are those instruments? Mainly the questionnaire. Questionnaire is one of the important instruments of collecting data. What are questionnaires? What is questionnaire? Questionnaire is a set of questions or group of questions to be asked to the respondent. Here, researcher will ask certain questions to get information from the respondent. While preparing this questionnaire or interview schedule, what are the things the researcher has to keep in mind? Mainly, the questionnaire should not be too long. The questionnaire should not be too long. It should be as short as possible. And second one is, questionnaire should be easy to understand. There should not be any difficult words in questionnaire. The respondent has to understand easily what he is asking, what the researcher is asking. And third one is, the series of questions should move from general to specific. First, he has to ask a general question, and after that, the researcher can ask specific questions. The questions should be arranged and ordered such that respondent should not face any uncomfortableness. He should feel comfortable while answering the question. That type of questions should be prepared by the researcher. And questionnaire should be clear and precise. And questionnaire should be ambiguous and they should enable the respondent to answer very quickly. And also, questionnaire should not use double negatives. Don't you think this type of questions should not be there? And also, the question should not lead another questions. And also, it should not give any clue about the answers. Questions may consist close-ended and open-ended. What are close-ended questions and what are open-ended questions? Here, open-ended questions, for example, if the student may ask it, what you will do after completion of your graduation, for which field you want to go, there will not be any options. Student can give his own opinion. That type of questions are called as open-ended questions. And close-ended questions. For example, multiple choice questions. There will be 4 answers for a question and we can choose any nearest answers. And also two-way questions, also called as yes or no questions. The answer either yes or no. These type of questions are called as close-ended questions. Next one is mode of data collection. How we can collect data? Here there are 3 major modes. First one is about personal interview. Second one is mailing services. Here this mailing service also called as questionnaires. Here questionnaires will be mailed to the respondent. And third one is telephonic interviews or telephone interviews. In personal interviews, researcher or one who is collecting data is going to the homes of the respondent or going to meet the respondent and he will ask certain questions. Through that method, he is collecting data from the people. Here, respondent can give his opinion about the questions and also researcher can get highest response in this method and also it allows researcher to use different types of questions. It may be open-ended questions or closed-ended questions. And also it allows to clarify the ambiguous questions to the respondent. And also certain demerits are there in this method. What are those demerits of personal interviews? It may take more time and also it is more expensive than the other methods. Why? Because researcher has to visit the respondent and also there is a possibility of influencing the respondent to give certain answers and also it is more time consuming. Next method is mailing. Through this method, questionnaire will be mailed to the respondent or sent through the postal letters. There, the respondent can take his own time and without any hesitation, he can write his opinion about the questions, about the data. Then it is resent to the researcher. Advantages of this method is this is less expensive and also this is only the method to reach remote areas and there will not be any influence to the respondents. They can their own opinion about the questions. And also this method is the best for sensitive questions. And what are the demerits of this mailing question or mail service? It cannot be used where more illiterates are there. Those who don't know how to write and read. For them this is not suitable. And it takes more time to respond. Next one is telephonic interviews. In telephonic interviews, researcher is going to call the respondents and he will ask certain questions or to get required data from the respondents. Advantages of this telephonic interview are this is relatively cheaper and also less time consuming. Here, researcher no need to go to the houses of the respondent or the places of the respondent. And also, this is relatively high response rate. Here, we can find the high respond rate. And also, here researcher can clarify the doubts in the questions. Then, respondent can easily answer the questions. And demerits of this telephonic interview are: many people in the remote area, they may not have phones, or there may not be any network facilities, or they may not have internet facilities. Here also, like mail questionnaire, reaction of the respondent cannot be identified. And also, here it is possible to change the mindset of the respondent or to influence the respondent for the researcher. After this, there is a small concept is called as pilot survey. What is pilot survey? This pilot survey also called as pre-testing. After the preparation of all questions or set of questions, researcher can test it, or researcher can try out these questions on the small group of population. What is the use of this pilot survey? It helps the researcher to get preliminary ideas about the survey, and also he can assess his questionnaire whether it is suitable to get proper data or whether it is having any drawbacks, or what will be the final conclusion regarding all this. A researcher can get certain ideas through this pilot survey. And also, it is helpful in understanding the suitability of questions and clarity of instructions and the cost and how much time it may consume. Regarding all these things, researcher can get pre-idea. He can get certain preliminary ideas about the survey. In the next class, we are going to learn about census survey and sample surveys. What are the different types of sample surveys, and sampling errors and non-sampling errors. And also, the agency is called as NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization in India. Regarding all these things, we are going to learn in upcoming classes. Thank you.